What's up, guys and gals, dudes, dudettes? Time for another video. Would have had you one last week, but circumstances out of my control. If you hadn't heard, last weekend my grandfather passed away. Uh, but we all know he's home now, and he's doing all right. Just want to thank you all for the messages and the prayers. It really helped a lot with all the family. But a couple of weeks ago, I talked about reaching out to others. And I got started on this with everything going on with the riots and the protesting and all this stuff. And I've noticed on social media a lot of so-called Christians really uh, expressing things that maybe Christians shouldn't be expressing. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked about reaching out to others and, showing love. And I got started on what would Jesus do, and I want to carry that on this week because I had this last week, but again, with the way things went, just didn't get to make a video. But going back to what Jesus would do, there's a story in John chapter 4 of the woman at the well that Jesus talked to. Now, the thing is, she was a Samaritan woman. And this kind of goes with what's going on today. Because you have to understand, the Israelites and the Samaritans didn't like each other. And I mean, we're talking bad dislike. It's been said by biblical scholars that, if the Israelites were going somewhere and they had to go through Samaria, they literally would go miles out of their way to keep from going through that area. So, when Jesus went to this country, he went to a certain town and he sat down at the well where they came and drew water at a certain time of day. And one of the women came out and he asked her, could I get a drink of water? And she's like, what are you doing talking to me? You Jews do not talk to Samaritans. That's not happening. Well, and as the story goes on, Jesus got to talking to her and they understood that he was the Messiah and all that. You'd have to go read all of it. But what I want to focus on today was, he talked to the woman. Somebody he shouldn't be talking to, in her eyes, because Samaritans and Jewish people did not get along. We're kind of living that today. We're we think because people are a certain race or something, we shouldn't talk to them. If they're of other beliefs, we shouldn't talk to them. We shouldn't. There's people today that still believe that if we're two different skin colors, we shouldn't get married. It's crazy, but it's true. And they take that verse out of context, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But I wanted to focus on that Jesus talked to her. He took the time to say, would you give me a drink of water? Would you, he broke barriers, and people don't understand that he broke barriers. Things he shouldn't be doing, he was doing. But he was showing them that, these laws that you are following are to make you understand that you're a sinner. And, like I said, we're living this today. We think that because people have different beliefs and people have different views on things, that we shouldn't waste our time. And as I was thinking about that, I looked up in James chapter 1, verse 19, and it said you should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. I'll say that one more time. You should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. We need to take in what other people are saying and really listen to them. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean we have to agree with everything that comes out of their mouth. You know, as the old saying goes, we've got to learn to agree to disagree. And that's an important thing. We've got to learn to agree to disagree. We're not going to see eye to eye on everything. And that's even in church. You know, I could sit down with 5 other people. We could all sit down and read the Bible, and we could all come up with a different understanding of it. Are we going to agree on the same thing? No. Are we going to disagree on the same thing? No. You know, you got to agree to disagree. But, you know, today, take the time to get to know people and wonder and ask why. Why do you feel that way? Take in what they're saying and really listen to it. And before you respond, think about it, pray about it, and be slow to get angry. Yes, some viewpoints are going to make you mad, but learn to control that anger and learn to say back to them lovingly, well, you know, look, I don't agree with that, but this is how I look at it. You know, if we take the time to really talk to people, we'd understand that not everybody's that bad. You know, and another thing, turn your TV off. That TV showing you stuff, just, that's all I can say. That media is showing you stuff that you just, that's not completely going on everywhere, you know. But, and back to my comment about the marriage, the intermarriage thing. You know, there's still people today that don't believe that 2 races should marry. Just because the Bible says that you, and this is the verse they use because it's in the Old Testament. God told the Israelites not to marry the people in the country he's fixing to give them. Now, it wasn't because they were 2 different skin colors. First of all, what everybody needs to understand, and you go back to the Old Testament and you say, well, you know, the Bible says not to intermarry. Number one, they were marrying their own people. Because when the flood happened, there were only 8 people on the ark. Guess who had to repopulate the earth? Those 8 people. But the other part of that verse about intermarrying the people in that country was God's rule was if you marry them, they worship other gods. So if you marry them, they're liable to make you start following the God they believe in, and I want you to follow the one true God. So quit using that verse as a weapon. You know, and if you're going to use the Bible, you better learn what you're using it for. And quit taking it out of context. That's why these people are out here mad at church and everything else. Because we've used that Bible as a weapon. We bashed them over the heads with the way they want to live. The Bible tells us to show love. It's our job to spread the gospel. It's our job to tell people about Jesus. After that, it's God's job to work on their soul and get them to transform into Christians. But we can't bash these people over the head and then be mad at them because they don't want to go to church. It don't work that way. But anyway, learn to talk to people. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. The Bible says to. Y'all be good. I'll be back with something next week. Who knows? But y'all have a good one.